shoulder. Johnson playing it in. Whelan! Whelan again! A brilliant goal by Ronnie Whelan!
Not every legend was loud. Not every great needed glory. But without Ronnie Whelan, Liverpool's greatest era wouldn't breathe the same. He didn't chase headlines. He didn't sell shirts. He just did everything that mattered, before anyone else saw it coming. 15 years at Anfield, wearing the quiet weight of Liverpool's number 5. 6 league titles, 2 FA Cups, 2 European Cups. More tackles than praise, more assists than applause. They talk about Dalglish, they talk about Rush, but behind the brilliance, quietly and constantly, Whelan was the rhythm in red. He played like he could read time itself, when to run, when to hold, when to break a game open with nothing but a left foot and a second's thought. And when it was over, he didn't raise his fists. He walked off like winning was just the job. Because for him, it was. If you value the ones who held football together, the men who didn't shout, but delivered. Subscribe now, because Ronnie Whelan didn't need noise. He made the silence count. Before Anfield, before the medals, the finals, the nights that bent under pressure, Ronnie Whelan was just a quiet boy in Dublin. Born on September 25th, 1961, into a family where football wasn't a game. It was bloodline. His father, Ronnie Whelan Sr., had led the line for Ireland in the 60s. A forward built on grit, fight, and dignity. Whelan grew up in Artane, where matches were won on concrete and reputations were built in the cold. He joined Home Farm, the modest Dublin club that somehow kept creating greatness. Liam Brady, David O'Leary, and now a left-footed teenager who didn't waste a touch, didn't flash for the crowd, but always seemed to be where the game needed him. He played mostly off the left, not to dance down the wing, but to link, to cover, to solve. He looked like a midfielder who thought faster than he moved. In 1979, his quiet excellence crossed the water. Bob Paisley signed him for £35,000. No spotlight, no grand welcome, just a silent arrival into the most ruthless team in England. And not even they knew that their midfield future had just walked through the door. He didn't walk into Anfield as a star. He walked in as a teenager with no guarantees, a quiet Irish lad arriving at a club stacked with legends. Liverpool in 1979 weren't just good. They were a machine. Midfield was owned by names like Ray Kennedy, a European Cup winner, a man with years behind him and the trust of the Kop. Whelan had to wait, train, watch, learn. He studied movement, positioning, timing, the invisible parts of the game that separate those who play from those who last. He made his debut in April 1981 against Stoke City, and within months, he wasn't just filling in. He was transforming the midfield. That same season, he scored in the League Cup final replay against West Ham United at Villa Park. Liverpool won 2-1. Whelan, still only 20, had announced himself on the biggest domestic stage. And by the time Ray Kennedy left, there was no question anymore. That number 5 shirt didn't just belong to Ronnie Whelan, it moved with him, like a metronome inside Liverpool's rhythm for a decade. Positioned off the left at first, he evolved into the central mind of Liverpool's greatest midfield engine. Alongside warriors like Graham Souness, visionaries like Jan Milby, and bulldogs like Steve McMahon, Whelan was the one who adapted, connected, anticipated. In the 1983-84 season, he battled injury for 6 months, but still returned to help Liverpool lift the First Division, the League Cup, and the European Cup. In Rome, he played 90 minutes in the final against AS Roma, as Liverpool held their nerve and won the European Cup on penalties. He wasn't the headline, he wasn't the hero, but he was there, in the thick of it, playing the passes that mattered. That same season, he wore the armband. That same season, he became a man Liverpool could not do without. If I had 11 Ronnie Whelans, I'd win everything. Kenny Dalglish. And when Liverpool played with rhythm, Whelan was always the one setting the tempo. He had taken the armband in 1988-89. Not with noise, but with trust. A quiet leader in a team still echoing with greatness. But that season, the game would carry more than tactics or trophies. It would carry grief. In April 1989, football was shaken by the Hillsborough disaster. 96 lives lost. A stadium turned into silence. a wound that would never fully heal. Liverpool pressed on, because that's what the survivors asked for, not to forget, but to honor. And at the heart of that team stood Whelan. Not roaring, not raising fists, just present, solid, holding the emotional weight that few could see, but all could feel. Weeks later, Liverpool met Everton in the FA Cup final. The result? 3-2 after extra time. One of the most emotionally charged finals in English football history. A city divided by colours, united by pain. Whelan didn't score, he didn't assist, he captained. He walked the team out, he lifted the trophy. Not in celebration, but in remembrance. That day wasn't about glory, it was about something deeper. And Whelan understood it without ever needing to say a word. He had won everything with Liverpool. But in green, Ronnie Whelan gave something back to a country that had waited far too long to believe in itself. Under Jack Charlton, Ireland didn't just qualify for tournaments, they arrived with fire. And in 1988, Whelan delivered the moment of his international life. Against the USSR on a sunlit evening in Hanover, a long throw floated into the box. The ball hung in the air, and Whelan, on the edge of the area, timed his run, watched it drop, and struck a left-footed volley so pure, so perfect, it was as if it had been drawn in the sky. The net rippled, the stadium shook, and all of Ireland, from Dublin to Donegal, held its breath, then roared. They didn't reach the final, they didn't lift silver, but they had something just as lasting: pride. Whelan would go on to represent Ireland at Italia 90, playing in the side that reached the quarter-finals, the farthest Ireland had ever gone. He was there again in USA 94, older now, injured, no longer the heartbeat, but still the presence. Because when you've carried a nation once, you never really stop. He finished with 53 caps and 3 goals for Ireland, numbers that barely reflect how deeply he carried their hope. Even the smartest players can't outthink time. By the early 1990s, Ronnie Whelan was still respected, still trusted. But his body had begun to betray him. The ankles, the knees, the pelvis. Injuries came in waves. His ankles were never right again after 1991. Bone on bone, strapped before every game, he played in pain. Until even that wasn't enough. Never catastrophic, but always enough to slow the rhythm he had once dictated so effortlessly. After 1991, his appearances dropped sharply. Between then and his final season in 1993-94, he managed just 61 games. He never had a testimonial. No statue stands outside Anfield with his name, but in the rhythm of Liverpool's greatest years, Ronnie Whelan is still there, holding the shape of something they've never quite replaced. He had once been Liverpool's captain. Now he was being quietly replaced by new blood. Redknapp, Hutchison, McManaman, players who ran with the energy Whelan once made look easy. But he never complained, he never made noise, he trained, he advised, he passed the armband the same way he passed the ball, smoothly, without demand. In 1994, after 493 appearances and 15 years of service, he walked away without a send-off. 73 goals, countless memories, no headlines, no send-off. Just a quiet walk out of Anfield from a man who never needed the stage. Because Whelan didn't play for applause. He played for the game. Some players disappear when they hang up their boots. But Ronnie Whelan never left the game. He simply moved to a quieter seat. After leaving Liverpool, he tried management. Brief stints at Southend United and later Panionios in Greece. Not headline-grabbing, not long-lasting. But again, he gave what he had, then moved on without complaint. In the years that followed, he became a pundit, his voice as calm, honest, and thoughtful as his football had been. A familiar face on RTE since the late 90s, Whelan faced rare backlash during Euro 2024, accused by some of showing bias in his blunt criticism of England. But as always, he stood by his analysis, calm, measured, honest, especially when speaking on England. Some fans called him out, others defended him. And through it all, he remained the same, measured, unshaken, never chasing popularity. Because Whelan was never built for headlines. He was built for clarity. And whether on the pitch or behind a microphone, he spoke the same language. Football, honestly played. He wasn't the icon, he wasn't the poster, but he was always there when Liverpool ruled English football, when Ireland found its voice, when the game needed intelligence more than noise. He was later inducted into the FAI Hall of Fame, not for one volley, but for a career built on rhythm, humility, and heart. Ronnie Whelan didn't reinvent the position. He refined it. He didn't dominate with power. He dictated with thought. 6 league titles, 3 League Cups, 2 FA Cups, European Cup, 1 earned in Rome, 1 shared in the era that raised him. And over a decade of consistency at the most ruthless, most demanding club in Europe. He simply did his job until the silence itself was worth remembering. Ask the teammates who leaned on him. Ask the fans who watched him run for others. Ask the opponents who could never catch him thinking. They'll all tell you the same thing. Today, you won't see murals of his face on the Kop. You won't hear chants with his name every Saturday. But in every Liverpool side that values rhythm, intelligence, humility, he lives on. Because the true greats don't need legacy etched in granite. They leave it in balance, in timing, in how the game moves better. Because they once moved through it. Ronnie Whelan, the silent general, the rhythm beneath the roar. He never asked for a song. He never needed a spotlight. But the team moved better when he was there. And sometimes, that's the only tribute that matters. Subscribe for more tributes to those who gave everything and asked for nothing.